Are you uncomfortable with our changing world? Right now, we have a major cat fight going on planet Earth. This has probably been happening for eons, honestly, but it seems like since 2020, things really got kicked up a notch, and you've got many polarizing groups that are fighting against each other, thinking they're right. Okay, I'm sure you've seen this, whether it's the different political groups, different righteous groups that or religious groups, many different groups out there that are like angry at each other because they don't have the same point of view. Think about that. Is that interesting and really silly that we get so angry with people because they don't believe the same way we believe? Now, anytime we see change, the pendulum, I like to think of the pendulum law, okay? The pendulum can go way too far to one side and then come all the way back to go to the other side. And when we have a shift that's happening in the world, then that pendulum will go from one side clear over to the other side in the extreme sense, okay? Neither of those are good. We want to be more middle of the road. Not that I quote the Bible at all or really put a bunch of weight on with my teachings talking about the Bible, but there was an interesting term I heard or verse I heard from another teacher the other day, and it was a verse about staying in the middle of the road, and that is where you want to be. And that was a Bible verse. But anyways, nonetheless, when we look at the Me Too movement, when we looked at that, it was like, there was change that really needed to happen in the world when it came to women and how they were treated. And, there have been a lot of things that have happened with women in the entertainment industry, and they've been treated like an object for many years, right? There's been a lot of sexual harassment. Like, we can all agree with that. Yeah, of course, right? Anybody that has a daughter, they go, oh yeah, I care about this subject. I want my daughter to be respected. I want her to be treated with, with love and respect, just like men, right? But when that pendulum swung, it swung really far. And at the beginning of the Me Too movement, I was like, wow, yes, that's awesome. I can see that there's a need for change. I've definitely dealt with certain things in my life. I have, overcome sexual trauma. I have had sexual harassment in the workplace. Like, I was all about it. I also have two amazing, beautiful daughters, right? But then the pendulum, it swung and it kept going until it got all the way over here. And it was like, whoa. Now all of a sudden you've got a lot of women that are angry, like these queen bees and bees nest, right? They're angry. And men are like, whoa, hey, I'm not one of those guys, or I don't treat women that way, or I don't believe that, right? You've got fathers that believe in their daughters and other women being respected that were also being put in that bucket. And so that pendulum swung really far, right? And it was like a lot of men were apologizing just to be a man. But then what happened after that? Things started to chill out. They started to come back down. You're always going to find what you're looking for, always. So if you want to find those groups that people are very angry about a certain subject, or they are very passionate or fighting for change, you're going to find that. And so some of you might go, well, I don't see that the pendulum chilled out and things came back more to the middle ground. Well, maybe you are surrounded by a certain group because you're going there, you're following those people on Facebook, or you're submersed in a certain energy in your own life. Generally speaking, things started to chill out after the Me Too movement. Maybe it took a couple years, but things started to kind of calm down a little bit. Well, right now we are going through, since 2020, we are going through one topic after the next, after the next, after the next, layer by layer by layer, because we are going through a major, major planetary shift. And a lot of people are very afraid of this shift. So we're going to speak to that today. And I believe that you're going to have a bigger, we're going to look at the bigger picture. Okay. We're going to look at it through a wider lens today. And I believe that you're going to have more peace and more excitement for the future by the end of this segment. Okay. So the other day I went into Sephora. My 11-year-old just wants all things beauty. Okay. She can't get her hands on enough things. We go into the mall and she's like, I want to go to Sephora. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So we go into Sephora, and as we're in there, I'm just observing, this place. There's so many people in there, and there are posters on the wall of men in full makeup, drag, right, to sell different products. This man comes up to us and he has these big, long, fake eyelashes with sparkle on his face, full makeup, big, huge high heels. And he is shamelessly owning it, owning his look, owning his style, owning who he is or what he wants to be, what he's choosing to be or not choosing to be, choosing the shoes he wore that day, and just unapologetically shining. He was such a wonderful person to work with. He was happy. He was very, very helpful. And as we worked our way through the store, I said to my daughter, my 25-year-old daughter was with me also, and I said, I feel like in this store, you can be whatever you want to be and no one cares. No one cares. They're like, cool, whatever, right? And it was interesting, but also very free. It felt just free in there. It just felt great in there. It felt exciting. It felt refreshing. Like no judgment. That's what it felt like. No judgment. Okay. Now, some of you are getting riled up right now as I'm mentioning this subject. You're like, but Jen, that's not how things should be. That's confusing to our kids. Or you're getting triggered right now. That's what I want to talk to, is your triggers. Because when we're willing to face our triggers, oh my gosh, that's where change occurs. So many people are afraid of their triggers. They're afraid to face that fear. So if you're getting triggered right now, or if you see certain things happening in the world and you're getting very upset about them, if you think our world is going in the wrong direction, if you think that, our world is going up in flames, and that, it's all turning to what people view as hell, I'm gonna ask you to open up your heart and your mind, take a deep breath, and if you're willing to sit with this and go through the rest of this segment, if you haven't turned me off already, change the channel already, then there's some real growth that can occur, some major ahas that can occur right here, right now. Yeah, let's do it. Okay. So if you get triggered by different things happening in the world, okay, I have been very triggered by certain things happening in the world since 2020. Not what I'm talking about with like the Sephora, totally different. I'm not triggered by that. I've been triggered by things with, if anybody's been listening to me, you probably could guess this, but I've been triggered by things in the media and things in the pharmaceutical world, things that happen with the whole COVID pandemic and the way that people were treated, as far as trying to take their free will from them. Oh boy, did I get triggered. I was pounding the desk, right? But I've settled down. That pendulum for me has come more to a place of calm, of peace, of surrender. Could I still get riled up about things? Yeah, absolutely. Of course. I'm still on my journey. I'm still trying to learn and grow and progress. I'm not perfect. I'm not at that space of pure enlightenment yet. Hopefully I'll get there one day. That'd be lovely. But I'm still on my journey. And with everything that happened, I have calmed down a lot. I've gone through a lot of growth. And I've seen so many of my clients, people that I work with, people in my life, that I've seen them grow so much right along with the world. And then there's some people that have not grown a lot. They're still in anger and they're still there. And it's like, come on, let's get moving. Let's work through this. And that's why we're talking about this today, is because in those moments that you are triggered, there's so much opportunity for growth. It's a gift. And when we can walk through that storm and get out on the other side and go, now I can observe things from an observer's standpoint and not let it come in and take over all of my emotions and really bring me to a space of anger, of fear, of feeling super uncomfortable when you're viewing something that you don't agree with. Okay? The reason why planet Earth is so fun, it's such a fun adventure from a soul's perspective. You couldn't wait to get here. You were lined up ready to get a body, that beautiful body that you're in, and you go, what? My body isn't beautiful. Guess what? You chose it. You chose it for a reason. You chose your race. You chose your hair, your eyes, your nose. If you don't like your ears, you chose it. Why'd you choose it? You're in an outfit, a costume. That's all it is. It's not who you truly are. You're wearing it for this lifetime. It's the car you're driving in. And you couldn't wait to get here so that you could have this exhilarating experience of contrast. What does that mean? Contrast? It means variety. It means different viewpoints, different experiences, the high, the low, everything in between. You wanted that. So now you're here and enjoy it. It's like it's like getting in line to go on a roller coaster ride. You know it's a thrill. You know that there's going to be ebbs and flows, ups and downs. You're going to get jerked around at some points. You're going to be afraid sometimes, right? But you don't cry your whole way through the roller coaster ride because you decided to sign to go on it. So you're not afraid unless you're a child and your mom or dad makes you go on it. Sometimes I look at parents like that. I'm like, why are you forcing your child to go on this ride? They're scared of it. It's silly. But when you're an adult, you're only in that line for that roller coaster if you signed up for it, if you chose to get in line, right? Think of life like that. We chose from a soul level to get in line, come here to planet Earth. So being terrified the whole way through, or living in fear or anger, or crying, energetically speaking, crying through life and not enjoying the variety and the contrast is silly. That's what makes it so lovely, so wonderful, so exhilarating. You don't know what's around the corner, right? So enjoy the journey. What's happening on planet Earth, though, right now, I believe we are evolving as a race, as a human race, as brothers and sisters, we are evolving. And that is why everything was turned upside down on its head. And that is why things were so wonky and still feel wonky, is because we're going through this major cat fight to bring everything up. Let's bring it all up. Let's look at all of it. Let's look at our differences. Let's hash it out. I have been watching Cobra Kai. It's a series on Netflix. If you haven't watched it, it's so awesome for all my fellow 80s people. It's a spin-off from the original characters of Karate Kid. So it's so awesome because some of those original characters are in it. And there's so many awesome messages within this series, and I get to watch it with my kids, so it's just fun. But one of the things that I love so much about that segment is that you get to go back and see the characters that you viewed as a villain, and you get to see that part of their life that led up to that, and see why they ended up being the villain, why they ended up being this mean, nasty person, right? Showing up as that kind of a character. And you start to have compassion for those people, the people that you were, like, oh, you're a jerk, I can't stand you. You start to go, oh, yeah, maybe you're not such a jerk, and maybe I actually understand you a little bit better. And your heart opens up, that door opens up, and the light comes in. You get to start to have compassion for that character, and you even start to love that character. Isn't that interesting, right? And so that is what I believe is happening. Another thing in that show that you get to witness is people that are enemies, and they look, and there's a lot of them. The main characters are Johnny and Daniel LaRusso and Johnny. And those two main characters, I mean, they were enemies in the very first Karate Kid, right? Well, not a little spoiler alert, sorry, but they end up understanding each other. They go on a journey, and they actually become friends. And that happens with several characters that at first they hate each other. They have this major war going on between them. And then they start to duke it out. And once they duke it out, they come to that space of surrender. That pendulum swings back, and they start to understand each other and truly love each other. And that is what's happening right now. Whether you think it is or not, I fully believe that's what's happening right now. So all of these subjects, these issues, these things that people get so triggered by, one after one after one, they're coming up from the ground. We're pulling up that carpet, and we are facing our fears. So with these different issues, if you were to go into Sephora and you were to see all of this marketing with men in full makeup, would that trigger you? If so, why? I want you to just sit with that. What is it about it? Is it anger? Is it fear? Why are you uncomfortable with that? Now, I believe at the base of any of that is fear. And a lot of people are afraid because they think, oh my gosh, well, then what if my kids see that and they think that's normal, and then it skews them and makes them want to be, then they're confused about their sexuality. What if that does happen? What if your child is gay or does feel like they're in the wrong body? What if you can face that fear and really get to the bottom of what is it that scares you, and you get to a place of like, hey, we are on a roller coaster of life, and I would love my child no matter what. If you could get to that place and really drop the fear, then I believe you're winning at life. If you can get to that place of compassion, of love, of acceptance, of truly reaching for love and dropping fear as much as you can, then you're winning. If you're rooted in fear and you're spinning in fear, you're not winning at the game of life. So sit with those triggers. When you feel triggered by anything happening in life, I had to do it. When I felt triggered by people being forced to do things in life medically, and I might still be really upset about it if it was really happening right now, but I had to get to a place of like, what if everybody's forced to do something? Well, then we better enjoy the journey as we're here, right? And so facing those fears and getting to a place of realizing that people are different than us. And most of the time, when someone is acting out and doing something that you feel is wrong or mean or hateful, it's because they are very out of alignment with the truth of who they really are, and they are plugged into fear. So let's all be the change we wish to see in the world. I love the example of the Dr. Seuss Sneetches. And if you have not seen that, look it up. Look up it, the movie on YouTube. Watch it with your kids. It's such a great story, and it's about star-bellied Sneetches. It's a village of star-bellied Sneetches, and half the Sneetches have stars on their belly, and half don't. And the ones that have stars, they put their nose in the air. They think they're better, and they have these amazing get-togethers and campfires and parties, and they don't allow the Sneetches without the stars. And this guy comes to town, and he has this magic machine, and he says, hey, to the Sneetches with no stars, get in my machine and you can have a star. So they go through his machine, they come out and they have a star on their belly. And then the other Sneetches, all of a sudden, they can't tell them apart. So they go in his machine to get the stars taken off. And it's a battle that they have between, where they go, well, we're better because we have stars. Well, we're better because we don't. Well, now we have stars. Now we don't. And then eventually they have this big fight going back and forth, back and forth. And they all come, by the end of the story, to they have to get to that middle ground, that place of surrender, and go, actually, we can't even tell we can't tell us apart anymore. We're all tired of fighting. Let's just all be friends and realize we're all one. And no one really cares whether you have a star or you don't. That's what's happening. We're going through our own Sneetches experience here on planet Earth. And it's actually a really beautiful thing. So enjoy the show. And I believe that we are becoming way less tolerant of mean, hateful things. You're always going to find contrast. You're always going to find those jerks in life. You're always going to find people that are super rooted in fear. But as our light gets brighter, as we start to evolve and raise our vibration and come to a more of a place of love and more in line with the truth of who we really are, the better life gets, and the less tolerant people are with people being mean and hateful and nasty. There were things that people said when I was a kid growing up in Missouri that were very normal. I'm not going to say them because it's just so icky to even hear, but things that were so hateful about other races, about other sexuality. And now, if somebody were to say that just out in the world, they get looked at like they're a jerk. And that's how we should get looked at, because they're jerky, mean things to say. And so when we can get to a place of going, you know what, it's none of my business what other people's role is in life, or what their beliefs are, or who they love, or like, I can see the light in them and love them regardless. That is the beautiful place to get. And so sit back, watch the show, accept and love your fellow brothers and sisters and their journey. I believe we're all playing a role in this grand movie of life for the evolution of all of us. So Thanks for being here with me today. We go into these things on a normal basis in my group, Awaken. So join me. It's only $33 a month, and you can come be a part of my tribe and learn and grow and progress together as we're going through this major evolutionary shift in the world. And click the link below, check it out, come be a part of it with me. And I will talk to you next week. Thanks for being here. Bye for now.